Chapter 961, Attacking the City. Brother Fifth Prince, from the looks of it, the two of us alone aren't enough. A handsome young prince sighed. Brother 12th Prince, you're correct. We should retreat first and wait for Brother 2nd Prince to arrive. The 5th Prince had a grim expression and cold eyes. If he teamed up with the 12th Prince, they should have been able to defeat a Heaven's Legacy city. The 12th Prince was ranked last among the 10 participating princes, was extremely young, and he had no one close to him that made any plans for him. A partner like this would only be used by the 5th Prince. However, they weren't able to even get close to the 8th Prince's gate even when they combined their strengths. The beasts in front of the other 3 city gates made them too scared to even consider fighting. However, the 8th Prince had members of the Yu family in his team, and their secret technique could dramatically strengthen their beasts. If the 8th Prince didn't use his wealth to buy a bunch of beasts from the Heaven's Legacy city, the 12th Prince was angry, but there was nothing he could do. The attackers could team up with each other, but the defenders had their advantages as well. For example, the 8th Prince purchased a bunch of beasts from the spiritual pet garden within the Heaven's Legacy city. If one was rich enough, they could even buy ancient beasts that only appeared in legends. Furthermore, the 8th Prince also went to the array tower and bought a highly ranked defensive array. As long as there was an array master in his team controlling it, he would be able to easily defend. This was the reason why, even if a prince had no intention of becoming the crown prince, they would still participate. They wanted to conquer a Heaven's Legacy city. The 4 Heaven's Legacy cities in the center of the imperial tombs were from the Heaven's Legacy era. There was countless fortune here. As long as one could pay the price, they could even obtain a 10,000 ancient races bloodline. The 4 Heaven's Legacy cities were respectively captured by the 4th, 7th, 8th, and 13th princes. Among these 4, the 8th prince was the weakest. Their wealth and resources are limited. They can't buy beasts endlessly. The 5th prince harumphed coldly. All the experts that entered a Heaven's Legacy city would use most of their wealth to buy whatever they needed, such as weapons or cultivation resources. Many quasi-sacred lords participated in the Crown Prince trial to come here and buy spiritual pills that could help them break through to the mystic light realm. Yu now stood on top of the city wall and looked around with his black eyes. He completely ignored the 5th and 12th prince as he looked into the distance. Zhao Feng still hasn't come yet. I also want to see how skilled this Zhao Feng is. Yu Langhua knew a bit about the situation between Yu Tianao and Zhao Feng. Furthermore, Zhao Feng had even forced Ji Bei, who was in Sacred Lord 100 Refine's group, to use the array in his Dragon Jade to escape. Zhao Feng. Sacred Lord 100 Refined was also here behind the walls, and his expression changed after hearing them talk. He had just arrived at the Heaven's Legacy city, and he hadn't told everyone else anything about Zhao Feng's bloodline. He thought that the Yu family already knew about it. Sacred Lord 100 Refined, you underestimate your opponents too much. Perhaps that's why you were tricked by a king? Yu Langhua joked. Ji Bei had told them about what had happened when he returned to the 8th prince's side. You all know that Zhao Feng has the Blood Devil Sun bloodline, right? Sacred Lord 100 Refine's face went red. Of course we do. Yu Langhua's eyes were cold. The Tai and Yu families both guarded the northwestern borders against the non-humans, and the 2 families clashed against one another constantly. Something seemed to have happened between Zhao Feng and the Tai family before the fights for the positions. However, even if Zhao Feng had the Blood Devil Sun bloodline, that wasn't an excuse for Sacred Lord 100 Refine's failure. It's not a normal Blood Devil Sun bloodline. Sacred Lord 100 Refine's tone dropped, and Yu Langhua and Yu Tianao instantly started to think. Yu Langhua's expression suddenly turned to shock, and Yu Tianao released a surge of battle intent. Could it be the perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline? Yu Langhua seemed to remember something and acted differently. As expected of Zhao Feng, Yu Tianao's eyes glowed with excitement, and the bloodline within his body started to tremble. He never would have imagined that Zhao Feng would accidentally obtain the perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline of the Tai family. The Tai family was enemies with the Yu family. Dr. Li, quickly heal the beasts. Sacred Lord 100 Refined didn't reply to Yu Langhua. He was more focused on the current fight. The 5th prince and 12th prince teaming up caused them to expend a lot of beasts. Although the Yu family had a secret technique that could strengthen beasts, these beasts would become even more tired afterward, and they needed time to rest. It would be bad if the 9th prince's team suddenly came and attacked the Heaven's Legacy city that the 8th prince was guarding on top of that. Who's that? The second prince is here. Sacred Lord 100 Refine's eyes glimmered with surprise as he looked into the distance. The 8th prince and the other team members within the metallic buildings all received Sacred Lord 100 Refine's message. Opposite the metallic city walls, the 5th and 12th princes revealed joyful expressions. Brother second prince, you're finally here. The 5th prince immediately went forward. Brother second prince, your team members? The 12th prince saw that the second prince only had 9 people in his team. The second prince's face became ugly, and the goateed elder and his team revealed a slightly awkward expression. The 2 missing members had followed him and died in the Black Wind Canyon Forbidden Ground. I understand what the 2 of you want, and it's not like we can't team up. The second prince had a steady expression. Oh? What other requirements does brother second prince have? You can tell us. The 5th and 12th princes had slightly ugly expressions. The second prince's overall strength was ranked 5th, and his battle power couldn't be ignored. He was an important factor that could decide the victor. Therefore, the second prince had the right to require something from them. As long as it didn't affect them too much, they could accept it. If we team up, I hope that none of us will attack each another before the Crown Prince trial ends. The second prince's requirement made the other 2 princes falter for a moment. The 12th prince immediately smiled, of course. The 5th prince lowered his eyes. The 12th prince was ranked last amongst the 10 princes, so of course he would agree. What could he possibly do even if he wanted to? The second prince was obviously speaking to him. Us 3 will take turns entering the Heaven's Legacy City. The second prince told them how they would split the Heaven's Legacy City. The 5th prince had to agree in the end, at least this meant they still had the chance to enter the Heaven's Legacy City. Okay, we will start attacking after your beasts recover. The second prince looked at the resting beasts and the 2 busy doctors. Half a day later, the 2nd, 5th, and 12th princes combined forces and attacked the 8th prince's Heaven's Legacy City. 3 beast tamers controlled close to 1,000 fierce beasts and made them charge toward the city walls. Over half of them were tamed in the imperial tombs, and they were extremely deadly and fierce. The 8th prince's beasts were immediately at the disadvantage, and they retreated to the edge of the defensive array. Go! The 3 princes roared, and the battle members of the 3 teams charged out. At this moment, the 8th prince's entire team of 11 people was present on the city walls. We are only going to defend. The 8th prince had a steady gaze, he wasn't in a rush. Although there were about 30 people attacking him and they had many more beasts, he had 2 sacred lords and a defensive array. The 8th prince still had the advantage overall. Yu Langhua, let's go. Sacred Lord 100 Refined stepped forward. Let me witness the 100 battle techniques of Sacred Lord 100 Refined. Yu Langhua floated out as a surge of battle intent radiated from his body. At the same time, within the center of a forest. Boom. 2 sky-shaking golden apes clashed with one another. The other members of the 9th prince's team were cultivating on the side. Everyone had gained a lot after entering the imperial tombs. For example, Shi Yulai had obtained a complete inheritance, including an inheritance sacred weapon and secrets technique, but he needed time to master it. Zhao Feng knew that it was time for the beast tamers to perform soon, so he started to search through the knowledge and tips and tricks of beast tamers within his mind. He also controlled and trained beasts within his little world. Most beast tamers were weak personally, but they could unleash strong battle power through their beasts. It wasn't hard for them to use a group of king beasts to trap several emperors. Enslaving the leader of the beast pack alone means that I can't control every beast well. Zhao Feng comprehended. Even if he gave the leader of the pack an order, it would take time for the other beasts in the pack to react and respond. Therefore, Zhao Feng tried to use the 10,000 divine thoughts technique and merge his thoughts into the bodies of each beast. He first tested it with 100 beasts. 200. 300. 500. 500 beasts is my limit. Zhao Feng felt slightly tired. He could only control 500 beasts with this method. However, these 500 beasts were like Zhao Feng's limbs, they could move as he wished, and their offense and defense were both decided by him. If the beast tamer knew how to use them wisely, 500 king beasts would be able to trap at least 10 emperors. Furthermore, all of Zhao Feng's beasts were from the imperial tombs and had stronger battle power than normal beasts. Boom. The fight between the 2 sky-shaking golden apes finally came to an end. It was obvious that Zhao Feng's sky-shaking golden ape had won. Zhao Feng jumped out and put the other sky-shaking golden ape into the misty spatial world while imprinting his dark heart seal into it. I'm still lacking 2 sky-shaking golden apes. I'll be back soon. Zhao Feng looked at the other members. Shi Yulai, Su Qingling, and the 9th prince were in a state of comprehension and not to be disturbed. That's good. Old Ying believed in Zhao Feng's strength. His beast horde was already extremely terrifying. The 9th prince and company needed someone to protect them, so Old Ying would stay behind. Zhao Feng's left eye scanned over the area, and he avoided some beast packs as he headed toward a solo sky-shaking golden ape. What are you following me for? Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed as he looked at Zhou Su'er behind him. Zhao Feng, I want to ask, when are you going to kill? Zhao Feng immediately shut her mouth before Zhou Su'er could finish speaking. You. What are you doing? Zhou Su'er's face went red as she struggled out of Zhao Feng's hand and yelled in anger. No one of the opposite sex had ever touched her face or mouth. Was Zhao Feng purposely trying to take advantage of her? Chapter 962, Who Should We Attack? Although Zhao Feng didn't understand the Crown Prince trial too well, he knew that the princes could use their pseudo-Crown Prince seal to connect to the Grand Imperial Hall and leave with all of their team members. Zhao Feng could feel that the pseudo-Crown Prince seal in the 9th prince's possession contained complex arrays and abilities. This meant that the Grand Imperial Hall had a strong control over this dimension. Everything we do here might be under the control of the Imperials, Zhao Feng said through spiritual sense. Hearing this, Zhou Su'er instantly held her mouth with her hand and looked at Zhao Feng with some embarrassment. If what Zhao Feng said was true, then she might have almost gotten Zhao Feng killed just now. The Great Gonlor dynasty was a powerhouse that ruled over 18 provinces, including the Kang Ocean. No one could even joke about killing a prince. On top of that, the 13th prince was the prince that the current sacred emperor liked most right now. Go back. There might not be any time to rest later. Zhou Su'er would come into play when they were going to attack the city. Zhao Feng didn't blame Zhou Su'er. He didn't expect that the Crown Prince trial would be a game like this. Killing the 13th prince would be almost impossible in this place. Zhou Su'er wasn't really interested in the Crown Prince trial and didn't know too much about it either, but their actions caused a wave of discussion within the Great Gan Imperial Palace. The two were within range of the 9th prince's seal, and their actions were displayed on the screen in the outside world. What's the relationship between Princess Su'er and Zhao Feng? Zhao Feng managed to trick an imperial princess? Why would Princess Su'er like Zhao Feng? Many experts in the outside world were stunned. One had to know that, even though Zhou Su'er had left the imperial palace, she was still an imperial princess and had countless admirers. Good. It seems that brat likes someone else now. The 13th prince's uncle and some of the forces supporting the 13th prince were overjoyed. This meant that they didn't need to think about how to get rid of Zhao Feng. As long as Zhao Yufei knew about this, she would definitely cut ties with Zhao Feng on her own. Zhao Feng is so talented. In the 9th prince's hall, old Monster Shu was filled with admiration. Zhao Feng? That's impossible. Duan Muqing shook his head. This one little action couldn't prove anything. Although Zhao Feng and Zhou Su'er's actions surprised the forces and experts in the outside world, it quickly calmed down. What they cared about more was Zhao Feng's strength. Everyone in the outside world had seen the battle between Zhao Feng and Tai Lingyun in the inheritance. The shock of seeing the perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline wasn't any weaker than seeing the unparalleled Heaven battling bloodline. The strongest bloodlines of two families had appeared in the same era. Was this foreshadowing something? The strength that Zhao Feng displayed also made the expressions of many forces turn colorful. For example, Nine Darkness Palace, the Tai family, the Yu family, and the forces within the 8th Prince's Hall. Apart from the scenes of attacking the cities, many people were paying attention to the 9th Prince. After all, they had all seen the process of the 9th Prince's team taming beasts. They believed that the appearance of the 9th Prince's team would make this stage more interesting. However, many Grandmaster Beast Tamers believed that Zhao Feng was only controlling the leaders of the beast packs and didn't have a strong control over the beast packs themselves. That wouldn't be enough against the older Grandmaster Beast Tamers. At this moment, in front of the 8th Prince's city wall were the beasts and the battle specialists from both sides. The 8th Prince relied on the defensive ray and could protect his team for now. Sacred Lord Hundred Refined and Yu Langhua both had extreme battle power. They stalled one Sacred Lord and several dozen quasi-Sacred Lords. Sacred Lord Lightning Tooth in the 5th Prince's team was also very strong for someone at the beginning stages of the Mystic Light Realm, but he wasn't Yu Langhua's match. Damn it, if you're so skilled, then come out and fight. A quasi-sacred lord from the 5th Prince's team swore. The 8th Prince's team members just stood close to the edges of the defensive array and reduced the power of enemy attacks. When they had time to spare, they would occasionally kill the beasts below and reduce the pressure on Jibei. On the other hand, the attackers needed to destroy the defensive array first before they could enter. Jibei, hold on. Just focus on defense. The 8th Prince was slightly worried as he looked at the sweating Jibei. After all, even though Jibei had the purple star eyes and had become more skillful after entering the Heaven's Legacy City, he was facing 3 beast tamers. Come help. This Yu Tianou's battle power isn't weaker than a normal sacred lord. 2 quasi-sacred lords became more stunned the longer they fought Yu Tianou. Yu Tianou was only an emperor and hadn't even completely awakened the unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline, and yet he could still suppress the 2 of them. What a unique little world. 2 emperors that saw Luo Xun's little world of ice and fire were shocked. Since the power of little worlds were heavily suppressed in the imperial tombs, hardly anyone used them. Come. Luo Xun was filled with battle intent. His little world of ice and fire was only just formed before entering the imperial tombs. He then started to perfect it after entering the imperial tombs, so it was somewhat adapted to this dimension. Brother 2nd Prince, the situation isn't looking good. The 5th Prince's eyebrows furrowed as he looked at the battle. While it seemed like they had the advantage, they actually didn't. The strength of everyone in the 8th Prince's team has become stronger after entering the Heaven's Legacy City. The 2nd Prince's eyes sparkled as he looked at the experts fighting in the air. The members of the 8th Prince's team were stronger and had more potential. How about we fight as well? The 12th Prince had an impatient expression, and he clenched his fists. Princes could use the draconic providence to increase their battle power. If the 3 princes started to fight, the tide might turn. Wait for a bit first. The 2nd Prince stood with his hands behind his back. There was still some time before the attacking the city stage ended. They couldn't use their draconic providence so rashly. The 3 princes decided to retreat after half a day. They couldn't do anything against the 8th Prince, who decided to only guard the city. The 3 princes and their team members discussed what to do behind a giant rock. The critical point is the defensive array. The 8th Prince's defensive array was bought from the array tower. It's too strong. We only have 1 array master. We can't deal with it. Everyone found the critical point of this battle. At this moment, 4 figures flew over. A fiery hot aura descended before entering the Heaven's Legacy City in the eastern direction. That's a group from the 4th Prince's team. It's the group led by Sacred Lord Tai Yunuo. Everyone sighed after the surprise passed. Although the city that the 4th Prince captured only had 2 groups guarding it, no one dared to attack them. The 3 princes then made another plan. They would use the defense-type and power-type beasts to expend the energy of the defensive array. Only then would the array master be able to destroy the array. The 3 princes then sent out their beast tamers and some battle members into areas that were densely packed with defense-type and power-type beasts in order to tame some. 2 days later, another group of people arrived at the 4 Heaven's Legacy Cities, but they weren't sent out by the 3 princes. The 4 Heaven's Legacy Cities. Shi Yulai was extremely excited. From the looks of it, only the 8th Prince's side has fought so far. Old Ying looked down and said. Heir of the Heaven's Legacy race. Su Qingling's cold expression changed slightly. It is indeed a Heaven's Legacy city. Joy and surprise flashed through Zhao Feng's eyes. Back at the 18 Corners Pirate Sacred Land, Zhao Feng had entered the hidden Heaven's Legacy city in the bottom of the ocean. Zhao Feng had spent all his wealth back then but was still unsatisfied. He didn't expect to see a Heaven's Legacy city again. Zhao Feng couldn't help but reveal a faint smile. He would probably be able to buy a lot with his current wealth. 9th Prince. The 2nd Prince started to think as he looked at the 9th Prince. 2nd Prince, us 3 are enough to take down this Heaven's Legacy city, the 5th Prince immediately said. He knew that the 2nd Prince was considering whether or not to team up with the 9th Prince. Zhao Feng, Shui Yuan and 3 other members from the 5th Prince's team called out. At the same time, an elder in white and 3 other members from the 12th Prince's team also yelled out Zhao Feng's name in frustration. Zhao Feng, Old Ying, and Jing Kai didn't die. The goateed elder and another member from the second prince's team felt incredulous. All the groups that entered the Black Wind Canyon had lost several members, but Zhao Feng's group had all survived. Shui Yuan, what is it? The fifth prince asked. Your Highness, we met Zhao Feng in the Imperial Sky Inheritance after being kicked out by Sacred Lord Hundred Refined, and he extorted us for a dragon jade. Shui Yuan's face went red with embarrassment. Hearing that, everyone in the fifth prince's team that didn't already know became angry. Several divine senses scanned out from the four heavens legacy cities. Zhao Feng. Yu Tianao flew to the top of the city wall as battle intent surged from his eyes. Yu Tianao, come back. Yu Lenghua's voice sounded in Yu Tianao's mind. Yu Tianao hesitated for a moment before stopping on the city wall. He knew that the eighth prince's situation wasn't very good, so he couldn't just leave the heavens legacy city. If the ninth prince attacks us, leave Zhao Feng to me, Yu Tianao suddenly said. The eighth prince and the other members all paused for a moment. They somehow felt like Yu Tianao wanted the ninth prince to attack them. The ninth prince's team slowed down. Old Ying, who should we attack? Shi Yulai asked and looked at the eighth prince's city. From the current situation, the eighth prince was already facing three princes and was in the most danger. There were no signs of battle at the other three heavens legacy cities, so all of their strength was perfectly preserved. Shanqitsa, Zhao Feng, what do you think? Old Ying asked after thinking for a moment. Shanqitsa closed his eyes and started to calculate while Zhao Feng started to think as well. The seventh prince, Zhao Feng and Shanqitsa said at the same time. Chapter 963, Clash Between Beasts. Zhao Feng paused for a moment before looking at Shanqitsa. The reason he said he wanted to attack the seventh prince was because he knew quite a few people on the eighth prince's team, and although they weren't exactly friends, they weren't really enemies either. Another reason was that, in the Black Wind Canyon, Zhang Hao's group had lost two members, including Array Master Wu Yu. Zhang Hao was from the seventh prince's team, so their overall strength wasn't as high as the eighth prince. All in all, Zhao Feng wanted to attack the seventh prince mainly because of personal reasons. So why did Shanqitsa also choose the seventh prince? The others all looked at Zhao Feng and Shanqitsa in surprise. Why? Shi Yulai questioned. He was curious why Zhao Feng and Shanqitsa both said the same thing. The eighth prince should be the more logical choice. If my guesses are correct, the eighth prince's overall strength is slightly stronger than the seventh prince. Even if we managed to take over his heaven's legacy city, we would need to watch out in case they wanted to reclaim it, Old Ying said after some thinking. He was originally planning to attack the eighth prince's heaven's legacy city as well, but there must have been some reasons for Zhao Feng and Shanqitsa to attack the seventh prince instead. Furthermore, Shanqitsa cultivated the Tao of Life and was a master of divination. He might have divined some particularly important information. Indeed. Su Qingling gently nodded her head. The three people in their group with the most power decided to attack the seventh prince. Everyone else would naturally start to believe in them. Behind the giant rock where the other three princes were gathered together. They're heading toward the Heaven's Legacy City in the west? An emperor exclaimed. What? They're going to attack the seventh prince? How can that be? The ninth prince is ranked seventh. How can he be the seventh prince's match? The seventh prince's strength is ranked third. They're courting death. Many experts belonging to the three princes mocked and were surprised. Maybe it's because the ninth prince saw that us three were teamed up. Even if he came to attack the eighth prince, he would get nothing out of it. Hee, of course. Our forces are enough to take down the eighth prince. Everyone soon thought of the reason. Hee, at least they know their place. The fifth prince had a cold smile on his face. With the second prince's neutral and stable attitude, it was likely that he would invite the ninth prince into their party. As the moment, the three princes had decided to split the profits of the Heaven's Legacy City into three portions. The fifth prince obviously didn't want the ninth prince to join in and split the profits even further. On top of the city hall where the eighth prince was located, all of the eighth prince's team members had puzzled expressions as they looked at the ninth prince and company fly toward the Heaven's Legacy City in the west. Why are they? They originally thought that the ninth prince would join the second prince and attack them as well. If that happened, they wouldn't be able to protect the Heaven's Legacy City no matter how strong they were. Sacred Lord Hundred Refined and the two geniuses of the Ji family were puzzled as well. Zhao Feng. Yu Tianao was slightly disappointed, and he looked at those behind him before talking in a serious tone. It should be because all of you have already lost to Zhao Feng, so he feels like there's no point in attacking this Heaven's Legacy city. Hearing this, the expressions of the 8th Prince, Luozun, Sacred Lord Hundred refined, and the geniuses of the Ji family stiffened. Their mouths started to twitch, but they didn't say anything. It was true, Zhao Feng's strength was deeply imprinted into their hearts, especially the 8th Prince's. The 8th Prince was full of regret ever since he first met Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng had great success in the divine illusion dimension, and he even had the perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline. If he had just maintained a good relationship with Zhao Feng, then maybe Zhao Feng would be one of his biggest helpers right now. Updated BYBOXNOVEL. Com. At this moment, in the Heaven's Legacy city located in the west. 7th Prince, the 9th Prince's team has arrived, a scholar with a smooth face said gently. He doesn't know how high heaven is or how thick the earth is. A skinny elder with sharp eyes that seemed able to see through everything spoke. Next to the elder was a middle-aged male radiating an invisible sword intent from his eyes. These two are experts of the Tao of the Sword from the #1 sword sect in the Great Gon Lord Dynasty, the Sky Sword Pavilion. Your Highness, Zhao Feng is not simple, Jiang Hao said in a low tone. No matter how unique he is, he's just a Void God Realm King. Besides, his status as a beast tamer is what's most important in this stage. The 7th Prince's eyes were full of disdain. He didn't care about what Jiang Hao said at all. If it was the 2nd and 5th Prince's combined forces attacking him, he would need to worry. However, it was just the measly 9th Prince on his own. He didn't take it to heart. That's true. Jiang Hao nodded his head. Back at the Black Wind Canyon, Zhao Feng's terrifying skills left a deep impression on him, but beast tamers were the most important role in attacking the cities. Zhao Feng was extremely young, no matter how personally powerful he was, how skillful could he be at beast taming? Jiang Hao, don't worry. I won't let his spiritual pet get close to this Heaven's Legacy city. You don't need to be that scared, do you? An elder in gray had a confident smile. Jiang Hao's expression became slightly ugly, but he didn't say anything. 2 people in the group that he led to the Black Wind Canyon had died, including Array Master Wu Yu. He and another quasi-sacred lord had to use the array and their dragon jades to return to the 7th Prince's side. They had heavy losses, and he had lost all face. Therefore, Jiang Hao had lost the right to speak in the 7th Prince's team. We'll be relying on Grandmaster Beast Tamer Zhang Yi then, the 7th Prince said with a smile. Zhang Yi slowly walked out from a building and flew to the top of the city wall, then looked at the approaching 9th Prince's team playfully. Several hundred fierce beasts in front of the city walls instantly opened their eyes, and a surge of a terrifying beastly aura shot into the air. He had prepared most of these in the continent zone. The rest were rare beasts that he had tamed in the Imperial tombs. Since no one had come to attack the 7th Prince yet, he hadn't bought any beasts from the spiritual pet garden. Come. Let me see how talented you are. Zhang Yi's eyes scanned over the group and finally stopped on Zhao Feng. Although he had heard about the cloud silkworm saint butterfly that Zhao Feng possessed, one spiritual pet couldn't affect the tide in a fight between beast hordes. Besides, there were many methods he could use to take care of the cloud silkworm saint butterfly. The members of the 9th Prince's team also looked at Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng's beast-taming abilities surprised them, but they didn't know how good he was at actually controlling them. However, since Zhao Feng was the one to suggest attacking the 7th Prince, they believed that he at least had some skill. Furthermore, the number of beasts he had easily surpassed the number of beasts in front of the 7th Prince's gate. This was the main reason the 9th Prince dared to attack. Zhao Feng walked forward and waved his arm, and an ocean of beasts instantly appeared. Venomous scorpions, wind wolves, and 2 sky-shaking golden apes. You've given me a surprise. Zhang Yi laughed. He could tell that the 2 beast packs were from the Imperial tombs. Based on the fact that he had tamed 2 full beast packs, it seemed like the 9th Prince's team had put in a lot of effort. However, it would be a dream if they wanted to defeat the 7th Prince by relying on just these 2 beast packs and the 2 sky-shaking golden apes. Firstly, there was a big difference in numbers. Secondly, there was a big difference between the beast tamers. Zhao Feng didn't bother with Zhang Yi. A faint golden glimmer appeared in his left eye. At the same time, he started to circulate the 10,000 divine thoughts technique in the bottom of his soul, and several hundred thoughts merged into the body of each beast. Zhao Feng's mind was completely focused on these beasts. It was as if these beasts were his own limbs. What powerful soul intent! Zhang Yi could feel that Zhao Feng was about to attack. The soul intent that Zhao Feng was currently displaying was on par with his own. This made Zhang Yi cautious and wary. Hoo! The beasts in front of the city wall started to set a formation. Charge! Zhao Feng ordered. The two sky-shaking golden apes were the first to charge. Boom! Boom! Although the two sky-shaking golden apes were extremely big, they were rather agile. They were like golden mountains as they crushed forward. The wind wolves and the venomous scorpions followed closely behind them. Mountain giants, charge! Zhang Yi understood the sky-shaking golden apes extremely well. Only the mountain giants, which specialized in defense, could be compared to them. Bam! 4 giants clashed. Humph! Attack the weaknesses. Zhao Feng circulated his left eye and poured more thoughts into the sky-shaking golden ape. He controlled one of the sky-shaking golden apes and made it continuously attack one of the mountain giant's right foot. The other sky-shaking golden ape repeatedly attacked the other mountain giant's shoulder. How is this possible? How can Zhao Feng's sky-shaking golden apes know the weaknesses of my mountain giants? Zhang Yi was stunned. The mountain giants had fought with him for many years, so they had hidden injuries. However, how could Zhao Feng's beasts be so smart? Furthermore, the style of these two sky-shaking golden apes was fluid, and they even had traces of using low-level techniques. Zhang Yi was even suspicious that some kings or emperors had taken over the bodies of these sky-shaking golden apes. Their style and battle instincts were the same as a human. The two mountain giants were instantly forced back. Black fur giant bears, go help them. Grandmaster Zhang Yi's expression was slightly ugly. The first beasts he sent out were easily defeated by Zhao Feng's sky-shaking golden apes. Hoo! 2 black-furred bears that were more agile than the mountain giants charged forward and slashed their black paws downward. These paws were followed by countless sharp gusts of wind. Retreat! Zhao Feng gave a faint smile and made the sky-shaking golden apes retreat a couple steps and dodge to the side. The paw attacks of the black fur giant bears scraped by the sky-shaking golden ape's fur. How is this possible? Zhang Yi almost spat out a mouthful of blood. These two sky-shaking golden apes definitely had true sentience for them to be able to dodge those attacks so quickly. Normal beasts couldn't act like this. The 9th Prince's team were all dazed as well. When they had captured these two beasts, they were extremely dumb and only knew how to attack wildly. These are the sky-shaking golden apes that we captured? Shi Yulai touched his head in shock. Zhao Feng probably gave them some unique training. Su Qingling had a stiff expression. These two beasts seemed to have their own intelligence and even knew some fighting techniques. Chapter 964, Arrival of Black Robes. Are my eyes all right? Zhao Feng's beasts utterly defeated Zhang Yi's beasts? How is that possible? Are Zhao Feng's beast taming skills really that strong? The combined forces of the 5th, 12th, and 2nd princes exclaimed in shock as they used their divine senses to see what was happening. This isn't possible. The 5th prince spread his own divine sense and saw something that he didn't believe. The 2nd prince and the 12th prince had solemn expressions, and they regretted not inviting the 9th prince. If they had, they might have already taken over the 8th prince's Heaven's Legacy City by now. Apart from the 3 princes outside, the other experts inside the Heaven's Legacy City were also watching what was happening at the 7th prince's side. As I thought. The 8th prince gave a helpless smile. Zhao Feng's display shocked everyone once again. This isn't possible. Ji Bei's face was green. The reason he had been forced to escape by Zhao Feng was because he was a beast tamer, so his individual battle power was very weak. Once someone got close to him, there was nothing he could do. However, Zhao Feng's beast taming abilities surpassed him as well. The 7th prince and his members within the Western Heaven's Legacy City faltered for a moment, but they didn't say anything. Everyone had solemn expressions as they closely inspected the battle. At this moment, Grandmaster Beast Tamer Zhang Yi had calmed down. It must be that brat. Zhang Yi found what the problem was. Ever since the start of the fight, Zhao Feng was just standing there, and he didn't even speak. He must have been using some sort of secret technique to directly control the two sky-shaking golden apes. This was why the two beasts were acting so differently, as if they were human. Humph, I don't believe that you can control all your beasts at the same level. Zhang Yi snickered coldly. He had heard of such secret techniques before, and they only worked on a small number of beasts. Zhang Yi waved his arms and spread his consciousness across the battlefield. Team 1, Team 2, surround the sky-shaking golden apes from both sides. Teams 8, 9, and 10, get ready to block the charge of the venomous scorpions and windwolves. U.P. Dated by BOXNOVEL. Com. Professional beast tamers put similar beasts into teams in order to control them better. Zhao Feng gave a faint smile. This was like a game of chess, and he quickly moved his pieces around. A portion of the wind wolves immediately blocked the beasts that were going to help the mountain giants. At the same time, the venomous scorpions swarmed the city walls and clashed against Zhang Yi's beasts. What fast reactions! Cold sweat appeared on Zhang Yi's forehead. The instant he gave out his orders, Zhao Feng countered with his own beasts. The 9th Prince's team standing behind Zhao Feng had joyful smiles on their faces as they watched the fight. Zhao Feng is stronger than Zhang Yi. Shi Yulai knew about Grandmaster Beast Tamer Zhang Yi's fame in the Great Gan Lord dynasty. Originally, all he hoped for was for Zhao Feng to be on par with Zhang Yi. Why doesn't Zhao Feng take out all his beasts right away? Su Qingling was slightly puzzled. They all knew how many beasts Zhao Feng had. He didn't even need to control all of them, he would be able to overwhelm the 7th Prince's city gate with numbers alone. He might be preserving his strength to use it as a surprise later. Old Ying thought for a moment before saying what he thought. Although they had the advantage in number, the difference in strength between the battle members was too big. This gap could only be shortened through beasts. Therefore, if Zhao Feng was able to defeat Zhang Yi right now, the remaining beasts could be used to handle the 7th Prince's subordinates. Hearing Old Ying's analysis, everyone nodded their heads. The 7th Prince's team members couldn't be ignored. They especially had to pay attention to the 2 sword Dao experts from the Sky Sword Pavilion and a sacred lord that specialized in the Dao of the soul. Apart from them, there was also the peerless prodigy Zhang Hao from the Zhang family. The remaining quasi-sacred lords were also experts that had been famous for a long time now. However, no one knew that Zhao Feng was just happily playing around right now. He felt that controlling the entire situation from the back felt pretty good, and it helped him cultivate the 10,000 divine thoughts technique. The number of beasts Zhao Feng was controlling right now was precisely 500. Although Zhang Yi was controlling 700, Zhao Feng was the one with the advantage. Damn it, what's going on? Zhao Feng's beasts are always able to attack through the weaknesses of my formation. Zhang Yi started to feel tired. The reactions of Zhao Feng's beasts were too fast. He was constantly on the defensive and had to guard against Zhao Feng's beasts. Zhao Feng waved his arm, and 50 night wolves appeared. At the same time, 50 thoughts merged into their bodies. These 50 night wolves then entered the battle. There was a big difference in how Zhao Feng and Zhang Yi controlled their beasts. Zhang Yi was just ordering the beasts around while Zhao Feng was personally entering the battle. Every beast on the battlefield contained part of his consciousness, as if they were one of his doppelgangers. What? He still has more beasts? Zhang Yi was stunned, and he immediately concentrated his beasts and focused on defense. In a metallic building behind Zhang Yi. I told you that Zhao Feng isn't simple. Zhang Hao could finally say this with a puffed-out chest. He had warned them beforehand, but Grandmaster Beast Tamer Zhang Yi didn't put Zhao Feng in his eyes and was now in such a state. Should we go to the spiritual pet garden and buy some powerful beasts? The 7th Prince started to panic. He could tell that Zhao Feng's control over his beasts was extremely strong. Your Highness, there's no need. It doesn't matter how many beasts we give Zhang Yi. The key point is how to control them. Unless we buy some sacred lord-level beasts, Zhang Yi won't be Zhao Feng's match. The scholar's eyes sparkled as he sensed the fight outside the city. He viewed every detail of the battle and analyzed that there was a very big difference between Zhang Yi's beast-taming skills and Zhao Feng's. If they gave Zhang Yi more beasts and he was unable to control them properly, it would just cause more chaos. Then what should we do? The 7th Prince asked urgently. If this continues, we will lose a bunch of our beasts. We should charge out. The scholar told them his plan, and his tone became decisive. The 2 sword Dao experts instantly opened their eyes, and an invisible ray of sword intent appeared that made everyone's heart go cold. That's true. How dare a team without any sacred lords try to attack us? A skinny male stood up and radiated a dark and cold aura. When the 2 people next to him felt this aura, their souls trembled. Apart from the two quasi-sacred lords that died earlier and Grandmaster Beast Tamer Zhang Yi, the seventh prince still had the scholar, two sacred lords, and three quasi-sacred lords in his team. What did the ninth prince have for him to attempt this fight? Lu Tianqi, I'll leave Zhao Feng to you. You just need to make his mental energy become chaotic. The scholar looked at the middle-aged male from the Sky Sword Pavilion. Simple. Lu Tianqi's words were quick. Who? 6 experts flew to the top of the city wall. Protect Zhao Feng and the beasts. Old Ying's expression immediately changed. At the same time, the ninth prince's team charged out. Shen Chitsa, who was standing at the back, had already prepared an array flag. He threw it, and a faint golden barrier covered Zhao Feng and some of the beasts. The ninth prince's team had already made their preparations. They weren't going to clash with the seventh prince's team head-on. They were going to stall the opponent's experts and wait for Zhao Feng's beasts to gain the upper hand, then attack the seventh prince's team members together. If all of you are in such a rush, then let's just end it here. Zhao Feng stopped fooling around and waved his right hand. Boom. 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 5 golden figures like small metallic mountains appeared on the battlefield and created a wave of a fierce beastly aura. What? There's even more sky-shaking golden apes? Zhang Yi's expression changed dramatically. Zhao Feng was holding back this whole time? One had to know that the sky-shaking golden ape was a peak emperor-level beast, and in this ancient dimension, their battle power was even stronger than normal quasi-sacred lords. How is this possible? The scholar was also stunned. This meant that the situation was going to become rather chaotic. Even if they attacked with all their power, they might not be able to gain the upper hand. The scholar gave a deep glance at Zhao Feng. Holding onto hidden cards and using it to catch the opponent off guard had special effects. Did Zhao Feng still have anything left up his sleeve? They just didn't know. Humph, let me handle these 5 sky-shaking golden apes. A skinny elder slowly stepped forward, and invisible sword intent flashed around him. Thank you, Sacred Lord Sharpedge. The scholar felt lucky that their team had 2 sacred lords. One was Sacred Lord Sharpedge, who specialized in physical attacks, while the other was Sacred Lord Dark Soul. Who tilde? Sacred Lord Sharpedge stepped out and slashed his long white jade sword, creating waves of sword chi. The pressure of a Sacred Lord's appearance made the battle power of Zhao Feng's beast horde decrease dramatically. 4 members that specialized in battle charged out as well. Sacred Lord Sharpedge suddenly lifted his sword, and countless waves of sword chi formed a tornado. However, Sacred Lord Sharpedge didn't unleash the attack, and the other 4 members stopped as well. Whoosh! A black figure floated toward them from the distance. A terrifying aura of death radiated from the black figure. Even though he was so far away, everyone felt their souls shake. A member from the 13th Prince's team? Sacred Lord Dark Soul from the 7th Prince's team had a grim expression. This terrifying aura caused even him to hesitate. It's him? Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed. Before the Crown Prince trial started, this person had attacked him. Zhao Feng also saw some of what happened when he was just about to enter the imperial tombs, so he knew that this black-robed person wasn't simple. He also felt the enmity from this black-robed person in the Black Wind Canyon Forbidden Ground. This black-robed person was now going to interfere in the fight between the 7th and 9th princes. His aim was very obvious: Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng. The black-robed person was like a ghost as he descended onto the battlefield. The terrifying intent of death made the beasts below tremble as their life force was strained. The 5 members from the 7th prince's side instantly retreated. Who is this person? Sacred Lord Sharpedge had a grim expression. In an instant, several years of his life force had been lost. Chapter 965, Scythe of Death. At the same time, the 3 others that arrived with the black-robed person went straight for the Heaven's Legacy City in the south after seeing the black-robed person head toward the battlefield between the 9th and 7th princes. 13th Prince, we're back. Your Highness, there seems to be a problem with this black-robed person. He's actually going to interfere in the battle between 2 princes? The 3 people in the black-robed person's group told the 13th Prince about the black-robed person's weird actions. 13th Prince, who is this person? Sacred Lord Black Ink had a grim expression. Even he didn't want to offend the black-robed person, who was radiating an aura of death. There's no need to worry about him. A wicked smile appeared on the 13th Prince's face. With the black-robed person's strength, he didn't need to be scared of the 9th Prince's team, and numbers were of no use against him. This was the deal between the black-robed person and the 13th Prince. The latter wouldn't restrict the former's freedom after entering the imperial tombs and would help kill Zhao Feng for him. At this moment, outside the 7th Prince's city, the originally intense fight instantly died down. The intent of death that this black-robed person was radiating was extremely deadly to the beasts below. "May I know who you are?" the scholar's voice sounded. The feeling that this black-robed person gave him was extremely weird and horrible. "It's not good for you to enter the battlefield like this." A quasi-sacred lord that was just about to take action had a grim expression. "Don't think that we won't attack you just because you're from the 13th Prince's team," Zhang Yi roared. The intent of death that was radiating from this black-robed person was deadly to the beasts he controlled. The 9th Prince's team also immediately stopped. They had witnessed his strength during the fights for the positions. Even Old Ying, who specialized in the Tao of the Soul and had strong battle power, didn't dare to attack the black-robed person, who had such powerful soul attacks. None of them dared to do anything rash to the black-robed person before they knew what was going on. "Zhao Feng, I didn't expect you to still be alive." The black-robed person completely ignored everyone from the 7th Prince's team and looked at Zhao Feng. "You are." Zhao Feng's expression was ugly, and killing intent appeared in his eyes. He originally felt like this black-robed person's aura was extremely familiar, and he also controlled the laws of death. The first words this black-robed person said to him were, "I didn't expect you to still be alive." Zhao Feng could only think of the person who forced him to start recultivating, the Emperor of Death. But that was impossible. The Emperor of Death paid the price of death to use the curse words of death on Zhao Feng. Since the curse words of death were successfully activated, how could the Emperor of Death still be alive? Hearing the black-robed person's tone, the expressions of the 7th Prince's team softened a little bit. From the looks of it, the black-robed person was here for Zhao Feng. Even if he was a member of the 13th Prince's team, that didn't matter anymore. The black-robed person's laws of death were extremely deadly against beings with lower cultivation. If the black-robed person was willing to help them, then they wouldn't need to be scared of Zhao Feng's beast horde anymore. Scythe of Death. An undulation of death soul power appeared around the black-robed person, and a scythe surrounded by black mist appeared in his hand. It seemed to have the ability to slice through all death and yin yuan qi in heaven and earth. The instant the scythe of death appeared, a powerful soul disturbance was released, and it made everyone's soul tremble. "What a powerful intent of death and soul!" Sacred Lord Sharp Edge exclaimed. He had never seen anyone with such strong intent of death. "Not good." Zhao Feng's expression became grim. He waved his left hand and instantly put all the beasts into the misty spatial world. The black-robed person waved the scythe of death and slashed it at Zhao Feng. A black crescent moon made of condensed death soul power and an air of yin instantly shot at him. Shu tilde Shua. Shua. Shen Shitz's defensive array blocked the physical component of the black crescent moon, but the death soul attack passed through it. Retreat. While Zhao Feng retreated, he sent a surge of wind lightning toward the members of the 9th Prince's team and pushed them back. The black-robed person's scythe of death left a black chasm in the ground when it hit, destroying the life force of the nearby vegetation. Zhao Feng and the other members of the 9th Prince's team managed to dodge the scythe of death. After all, Zhao Feng was extremely familiar with this attack. However, Zhang Yi wasn't so lucky. The black-robed person's scythe of death had a huge range, and part of the attack landed on his beast horde. Several dozen king-level beasts had their life force and soul sucked out, instantly killing them. "You! What is the meaning of this?" Zhang Yi roared in anger. This was the territory of the 7th Prince, but the black-robed person came over in such an arrogant manner and didn't even hold back on his attacks, killing his beasts as well. The laws of death were extremely damaging to life, and king-level beasts that had a lower state of existence couldn't fight back against this power at all. The black-robed person's attack made the expressions of the 9th Prince's team turn ugly, and their hearts became heavy. The black-robed person attacked Zhao Feng as soon as he arrived, and his power was deadly to beasts. Luckily, Zhao Feng foresaw that and put away his beasts in time, or else the casualties would have been big. However, the situation right now wasn't much better. Although the black-robed person was only a quasi-sacred lord, his laws of death countered most powers. On top of that, he specialized in the soul, which made everyone feel troubled. "Zhao Feng, who is this person?" Old Ying immediately messaged Zhao Feng. It was obvious that the black-robed person was here for Zhao Feng. The black-robed person completely ignored the 7th Prince's team, and Old Ying obviously wouldn't ask the black-robed person. He might be an enemy from the past. Zhao Feng took a deep breath. The power of death that this black-robed person controlled was countless times stronger than the Emperor of Death from back then, but the feeling this black-robed person gave Zhao Feng was that he was the Emperor of Death. What? Old Ying was stunned. An enemy from Zhao Feng's past meant someone before Zhao Feng started to recultivate. How could Zhao Feng have offended such a strong enemy before he started recultivating? Get away from this person. His laws of death are too strong, and he specializes in soul attacks, Zhao Feng messaged everyone in the 9th Prince's team. The power of death wasn't something to be played around with. Shi Yulai looked at the black-robed person. Although the Shi family bloodline specialized in defense, it could only defend against the black-robed person's physical attacks. However, the black-robed person's attacks were mainly soul-based. Shi Yulai's weakness was the soul. He was only a quasi-sacred lord as well, so he didn't dare to do anything. Su Qingling's forte was the soul, but her cultivation was too low. Zhou Su'er, Jing Kai, and company had no ability to fight back at all. The members of the 9th Prince's team slowly retreated. I will only kill Zhao Feng. The rest of you can fuck off. The black-robed person's eyes were trained on Zhao Feng, and his voice sounded in everyone's soul. Friend, since your enemy is Zhao Feng, why don't we team up? The scholar had a faint smile. The enemy of an enemy was a friend. As long as the black-robed person took care of Zhao Feng, the 9th Prince's team wouldn't have any beasts, and they could do nothing. Ha ha ha. The black-robed person laughed, and a black mist started to spread from his body. When one looked at him, he was like the god of death, terrifying and deadly. Who tilde? The black-robed person didn't reply to the scholar, he simply charged at Zhao Feng as he poured more soul power into the scythe of death. All of you attack as well, the scholar immediately messaged. The members of the 7th Prince's team instantly charged out. Retreat. Old Ying roared as he saw the members of the 7th Prince's team about to take action. All the members of the 9th Prince's team, including Zhao Feng, started to retreat, leaving the perimeter of the 7th Prince's city. At this moment, Zhao Feng's beasts were countered by the black-robed person, so they couldn't attack the city. At least if they retreated, not all of the 7th Prince's team members would chase after them since they had to guard the city. If most of their members left, then the other 3 princes would take over the city. Zhao Feng, are you scared now? The black-robed person laughed and chased after Zhao Feng. The terrifying aura of death covered the hearts of the 9th Prince's team. Do we chase after them or not? Sacred Lord Dark Soul asked. The 9th Prince's team had retreated. Sacred Lord Dark Soul, you go after them. With the black-robed person's strength and your strength combined, you shouldn't need to worry about the 9th Prince's team. The scholar thought for a while before saying. After Sacred Lord Dark Soul left, the 7th Prince's team still had 1 Sacred Lord remaining. Even if the other 3 princes came to attack them, they wouldn't be instantly defeated. If Zhang Yi's beasts hadn't had such casualties, then they could have sent another person out as well. Okay. Sacred Lord Dark Soul turned into a dark streak of light and left the city. You are the Emperor of Death? Zhao Feng asked for the first time with an ugly expression. Hearing this, Su Qingling, Jing Kai, and Zhou Su'er were stunned. They had heard of the Emperor of Death before. This was an ancient emperor that had the Eye of Death. Had his strength reached such a level already? However, Old Ying, the 9th Prince, and a few others knew that the true Emperor of Death had already been killed by Zhao Feng. I am the person that is going to kill you. The black-robed person waved the scythe of death and sent a black crescent moon toward the 9th Prince's team. Sacred lightning dominating body. Zhao Feng immediately circulated the sacred lightning body. Golden lightning started to flash around him as he circulated his fire of wind lightning and punched out with his fists. The power of destruction contained within the god tribulation lightning in Zhao Feng's fire of wind lightning was a terrifying power on the same level as the power of death. Boom. Bam. Zhao Feng's golden punches broke through the black-robed person's physical attack. However, in the dark golden storm, a faint crescent moon slashed over. This was a soul attack, and it wasn't affected by physical attacks. Who tilde? Zhao Feng was ready for this. He released a surge of soul intent containing the power of God Tribulation Lightning, which shattered the crescent moon. This is your soul intent? The black-robed person was surprised. Zhao Feng's soul intent just now had exceeded the level of quasi-sacred lords. As I thought. I can't underestimate you, Zhao Feng. The black-robed person had a cold voice. Zhao Feng, not good. Sacred Lord Dark Soul from the 7th Prince's team has come over as well. Old Ying's heart shook when he saw a dark beam of light flying over from the distance.